Welcome back to Talent Talks. I'm your host, Jonathan Reynolds. I'm sitting here in Southern California with a good friend of mine of nearly 5 years now. We've known each other, and you're in for a treat. He is a visionary. He's a founder. He's an entrepreneur. Bought and sold companies. We're going to hear a story. Let's get into it. Jason Levin, it's good to have you here.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks for the warm welcome. Feels very homey in here.
It is very homey in here.
Feels good.
Well, the most important thing is the flowers are more beautiful than you are.
That's very true.
But maybe tell us a little bit about the flowers. Now, tell us about your story and introduce your sidekick.
Our sidekick, yes. Story. I'll tell you the Cliff Notes version because it's pretty. It's a long story, but I basically lived. It's a typical bootstrapping entrepreneur, story. Started when I was 24, didn't know anything, with $1 a partner and 4 people, and just kind of started with nothing and kind of chipped away. And basically we at that point aggregated supply from the growers in the area and Baja, Mexico, and shipped them to wholesalers throughout the country. Fresh flowers.
Okay.
Fresh flowers. Yeah. Sorry.
Like, you didn't mention that part. I was trying to get a point of these.
Fresh flowers. Sorry.
It's kind of important. The whole podcast, people are like,
what is it?
What
aggregated? What supply? Supply of gluten?
He's bringing something across the border. I don't know what it is.
And then from there we transitioned to really focus, instead of trying to be everything for everyone, to trying to be the best in the world at sunflowers. And so we, as we grew up in the business, and realized we couldn't be everything to everyone, we started focusing on sunflowers.
Sunflowers, full bouquets of sunflowers.
5-stem bunches, 3-stem bunches, 2-stem bunches. We're the Bubba Gump of sunflowers. Whatever you want with sunflowers, we'll do it.
So,
fresh cut ornamental sunflowers.
And where do people get them?
All grocery stores. We're in about 18,000 store doors throughout the U.S. and Canada. Wow. Grocery store doors. And then online, 1-800-Farm Girl Flowers.
Farm Girl Flowers?
Farm Girl Flowers is a great place. Sunflowerguy.com, 1-800-Flowers. They're all good.
Wow. Amazon even.
Amazon.
We're not plugging that.
Yeah. No, great.
Okay, we're not plugging Amazon
perfect.
too.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Well, we've been a huge recipient of this because last year, I think it was last year, we decided we would... we had a theme that year about just grow, and the theme was like, let's grow, and we thought we'd put some flowers or plants or something in our team members' hands, and I came to you, and you came up with this beautiful, this box which went to every single door of all of our employees across the country. Yeah. They all got them on the same day, which is a miracle in itself, and beautiful. How was it? It was like 3 jars. Was it? Do you remember? Was it 3 jars?
3 mason jars of
and everyone just loved them. I mean, we're taking photographs with them and tagging your company on it. But
awesome.
And they lasted for ages. But our team just loved the gesture of receiving flowers in the mail from their employer.
Yeah.
But it just kind of brightened up their day and just put a smile on everyone's face. So,
that's awesome. They did their job. I think every business needs a reason for being beyond making money, and ours is to bring smiles.
Well, I love it. And I think we probably need to do a refresher of that as well. Get another round going to everyone. It's been a year.
I know a guy.
It's been a year.
I know a guy.
It's like, hey, honey, didn't I tell you I loved you on our wedding day? I have to tell you all the time.
I know a guy who can get you a good deal.
There you go. Well, I'm gonna do that. So, okay, let's go back into the story a little bit more, because didn't you arrive here? You're not from California, right?
No, I grew up in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And then grew up in Illinois. Went to school in Michigan, and thought maybe there was a sunnier place to live. My aunt lived here, so my very first job was I was a finance major. It was working for a large flower grower on the growing side of the business.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is that really where it started? The whole
that's where the idea came from. Yeah. To basically to aggregate supply, to get into the grocery store business. To Flores de Baja was the name of the growing arm of actually Dos Gringos, was a going concern at the time. So
wow,
yeah,
that's wild. Yeah. So did your previous employer, were they like, whoa?
They were spinning off the business
Okay.
for $50,000. So I wrote a business plan to try to borrow $50,000. It was a 52-page business plan. Dropped it off at 11 different banks because I didn't want to borrow money from friends or family because I didn't trust myself to be able to be able to pay them back. All the banks turned me down. I mean, I think I was 23 at the time, and so he ended up selling the business to a guy that I ended up becoming partners with.
Okay.
So partner with him and another operating partner. So he bought the business, then basically created a partnership between myself, my partner, and this guy. We bought him out after a year. It's a long story. Then my other partner and I had a good 10, 12-year run. He was ready to retire, and off he went to the sunset.
So you bought him out?
I bought him out. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was about 18 years ago or 20 years ago.
Wow.
18 years ago.
That's wild. Now, I'm sure you got some like highs and lows stories, like every business owner, entrepreneur,
for sure.
good years and bad years. But I mean, some of the things that our listeners wouldn't know, or maybe not have thought about in their business, like you have things that happen, like you'll lose an entire crop and things like that. Like those are some real pressures that you face. But what comes to mind when I say challenge, pain, pressure in the business side?
Yeah, I think, Mother Nature, 99%, 95% of what we do is outside. So Mother Nature is a fierce competitor, and she, you definitely want to be on her good side, which is why we try to treat the earth properly and be good stewards of our environment. So, I mean, that really taught us a good lesson because we used to grow everything in Carlsbad 100% or aggregate the supply from that area and realized that we needed to hedge against inclement weather. So that forced us to change our business model to grow in northern Baja, southern Baja, Southern California. Now we're in central Mexico in the Sonora Desert. Whoa. We've even done projects in Wisconsin in the summer and upstate New York and Texas. So it forces us to be in lots of different geographies to hedge against that inclement weather.
And since you've started doing that, I mean, is it, you just kind of balance one another? Is it teeter-tottering? Like, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's certainly better than having all your eggs in one basket. Yeah. I mean, before it was when we would get an El Nino year, we'd be wiped out. We wouldn't have anything to ship.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That is just insane. Like, I mean, mind-bogglingly stressful. I can't even imagine. Yeah. How do you deal with stress?
Not well, but I try to meditate, which I've been better at. I do TM.
Yeah, did some yoga as well.
I do. I don't do yoga. I need to do yoga.
Yeah. I was going to say you need to do yoga.
Yeah, try to get exercise.
I've never done yoga, but you need to do it.
Exercise. I exercise, and the golf course is my yoga. I enjoy getting out and playing some golf and doing that.
Okay, Pete. From my observations, and I've got to meet some of your team members over the years as we've interacted a little bit, but I think of you as a fantastic leader. Like you care deeply about your employees, like their family, and you're the first to sacrifice when it comes to just caring for people and reaching out to them. And honestly, it's with all sincerity, it's quite moving. Some of the depth at which you care for your people. I'd love to hear a little bit about where that came from, that level of care for people, and where's the history there?
I think every business has to have these strategic pillars as well as a reason for being, right? And ours are people, freshness, and innovation. And you can't have freshness and innovation without people. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to start the business in the first place was I realized I needed to work for, 30, 40, 50 years. And I wanted to be able to pick my team members and have a choice in who I got to work with.
Oh, wow.
So I think finding and keeping great people is one of our biggest jobs.
Yes.
Right. And so once you've made that investment to get somebody on the team, you've generally looked them in the eye and thought that they've got a pretty good chance of not being a sociopath. So you better treat them pretty darn well to keep them right and make sure that they feel cared for and they feel like they're part of something greater than just the work they're doing. Yeah. Day in and day out. There has to be a bigger cause.
How do you communicate that to people? Like, how do you communicate this? What does that look like for you?
It's constant, right? It's a constant, whether it's through a town hall, hands-on, or whether it's a email to the company, whether it's walking the plant, walking the floor. I think that's been one of our challenges after COVID, is how to do that remotely, how to do that with the work from home,
Right.
And kind of accepting that as a new norm and figuring out a different way and better way to do it.
Yeah.
Right. I should send them flowers like you do.
They probably wouldn't have the same like meaning as.
Actually, we do. We just did that to our remote team members. We sent them some flowers.
Really, that was great.
Yeah.
I was wondering if they're like, are these leftovers? No,
Yeah.
Why are these all? We don't want to throw them away, so we send them to you.
That's right. No, we're not that bad.
No, you're not that bad. But you're a very intentional person when it comes to the way you care for employees. Like, what are some of the things that you do?
I mean, I would use the word natural or authentic. I mean, there's no intention behind it in terms of looking for anything out of it other than to make them feel important and appreciated. Yeah. Which we do.
Yeah.
Like I said, you can't have freshness and innovation without great people, and you can't have, I think that our tagline is different by design, but it doesn't mean necessarily just the design of our bouquets and arrangements. It's also the design of our team and the makeup of our team and the type of team member that we have. Right? They're different. They vibrate at a different level.
Yes.
And we hope that they vibrate at a different level than our competition. Right.
Yeah.
And that our clients see that. And I like the word different because it doesn't mean you're better. It doesn't mean you're worse. You're just different. Right? Yeah. You're just different.
Do you find, like, what does that actually look like from a client? You talk about clients and customers. Like, what would you think that they would say to describe you in a way that's different? Or what would they say is different about you?
Well, it kind of starts with the name Dos Gringos, right? Which is basically means two white guys in Spanish. And so that alone gets a smile. And I think, our booth typically is pretty crowded at trade shows because we like to have fun with people. We like our job is to bring smiles to them through our flowers. Yeah. But we also like to do it, through our culture. Yeah. Right. And how we behave and how we take our business seriously. We don't necessarily take ourselves that seriously.
Oh, I love it.
And that the booth is fun. We try to keep it fun and keep it real and keep it, it's not anything. It's different, right? Yeah. It's not real salesy, which is to a fault.
No, I mean, you said authentic. I'm not intentional. I'm authentic, and it's not like it's. My phone just reminded me to say hello.
Right, exactly.
Oh shoot, it's been 17 days since I've said I appreciate you.
Right.
But you actually genuinely are that way, and people. I think the authenticity right now, especially with the rise of artificial intelligence. There's even going to be a much greater need for authentic leaders. Yeah. Because AI can do everything. Bots can do all of these things, but they can't do genuine, heartfelt, authentic care. Which is
just, to me, a part of being a member of society, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for the coffee.
Yeah.
Thanks for the great sales month. Way to go. You know? Thanks for doing such a great job making this bouquet. You know? It's I really appreciate you. We couldn't do it without you. I mean, that's what you would do as a person to another person, right? So why not do it to your team, with your team?
Okay, so what comes naturally to you doesn't come naturally to everybody. The skill and attention to detail you have around even just hospitality and creating great environments in the work environment. I mean, it's like top notch. I've told many people about just the way you're, the creative and the heart behind it and the why behind it. What are some things you do from an employment perspective that you're like, that's, I guess I didn't think about it. It's normal to us, but we show. So I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, that's interesting because it's so it's normal. I wouldn't think. I really wouldn't think much about it. And it's just beyond. I think the thing is that it's got to be beyond the normal bonus. It's got to be different than the things that are expected. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily need to be monetary. So a
Right.
perfect example is obviously for administrative days, we give everybody flowers, but I also sit down and write everybody a handwritten note and talk about what they've done and how much they mean to Dos Gringos and how much we appreciate them, each one individually. And it's not just administrative. It's basically anybody behind the scenes, right? That's
Yep.
not client facing.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that make the trains run on time and do a lot of the heavy lifting. So, I mean, I think it's those types of things. It's not the typical bonus or foosball table or ping pong table or keg of beer in the cafe. It's different than that.
Although you do bring like a taco truck. Have you brought that in? Right?
We do taco truck. We do after every major flower holiday, we do an appreciation lunch where the leadership team serves the lunch to the team members to say thank you for their hard work.
Because everyone's been pushing the extra.
They've been pushing, it's like a 6-week sprint.
Wow.
We call it sprint recharge.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so talk about just leadership. The other day you were talking to me about process and the way you kind of tackle things, how navigate with people and how you handle process and how you lead people. Talk about that, man.
Well, I think it's one of the things that I certainly struggled on in the beginning was being able to give feedback to people.
Yeah,
and so one of the ways we do that is to be tough on process and easy on people. So that before we would give feedback around certain performance, we would look together with that person on, all right, as a company, what went wrong with our process that caused this error, right?
Yeah.
Where did what happened?
Yeah.
So we typically, and we generally believe that to be true before we start the process. And then it gets more, but you have to learn from your mistakes and you have to do it in a way that's not threatening, and you have to do it. You can't ignore it.
right.
You have to address it. And so we focus on the process first before we focus on the people
So you're not.
when it comes to negative stuff.
That's hard. I mean, that is a hard thing to do because I think when somebody does something wrong, and you can see that it was something that somebody did something wrong, and you kind of de-escalate that and bring it straight down to where the process.
It's a place to start, right?
Yeah.
It's a place to start. I mean, sometimes you get to the fact that it was, human error quicker than other times.
Yep.
But a lot of times it's process. There's a breakdown in our checklist or whatever the process is. There's a breakdown in it. So we fix it and we move on.
I guess there's so many industries that would be like that, especially I think if something went wrong with an aircraft, they don't go straight to, all right, who was the pilot?
Yeah.
They'd be like, wait, what on? We got enough checks and balances here.
There's a good book. It's been a long time since I read it. It's called Checklist Manifesto. And they talk about the fact that in operating rooms and in hospitals, they created the checklist for the operating rooms, to make sure that there wasn't a sponge left before they sewed him up. There wasn't a utensil missing or whatever.
But
before they stitched
you can actually,
him up.
It's a scary thing.
Count all of the things you're using.
Scissors. We left scissors inside someone or something. You've seen stuff like that. Exactly. That's crazy. The way you approach leading people, obviously we have regrets as leaders. Looking back on your history, where's a kind of a big area where you think, man, I have big regret there, or I'd love to go back and do that again?
So many. I mean I've made so many mistakes, over the years, for sure. I mean, I think in the beginning, I had a tendency to let my emotions get in the way of smart business decisions. Yeah. And I was very much, if at one tip of the U is we're doing great, this is awesome, and the other tip of the U is we're 6 months away from bankruptcy, I slid back and forth between tip to tip versus hanging around in the bottom. Yeah. So it was probably a little erratic for my team. Yeah. I know it was erratic for my team. I know it was erratic for my team. So I think that was a learning lesson for me, for sure.
And what do you do? What do you do now?
I hang out in the bottom of the U more. Yeah. I mean, sure, everybody's human. Everybody slides into. I try to realize that as one of the leaders at the company, I'm always on stage, and I've got to, just make sure my emotions are in check, right? Not too high, not too low.
Man, I gotta
still,
learn that.
Reasonable.
Yeah. So if you've got some good news or bad news to share, like how do you say you're always on stage? I mean, how do you process that? Like, okay, I gotta.
Yeah, I think, you've got to, when there's bad news, you have to be honest with the bad news, and you also have to provide hope. Like, we're going to get through it. This stinks right now. This is a tough time. And we're going to buckle down, and we're going to work hard. We're going to fix whatever needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
And together we're going to get through it.
Yeah.
It's just like when a family has a crisis, or when things happen. I mean, things happened. There's always going to be change in business. I mean, it's constant. I think that was another learning lesson for me. Was I remember, getting from 0 to 3 million in sales, and I had to let go of, one of the original people on the startup team. And I was like, whoo, glad I never have to do that again. And then had to do it at 7 and do it at 11 and do it. I mean, there's always, and change the business model and change the processes. There's always going to be uncertainty, with the business and change. You have to be very comfortable with that. Yeah. And you have to lead the change too. Right. And make sure that, that people are comfortable with it and ready for it and excited about it versus having it be burdensome.
What do you do if people are not on board with the change?
Well, first you try to understand that they aren't, right? Versus them saying they are and not changing, right? So the sooner you can get to that, and then you find out what's holding them back. I mean, a lot of times it could be doubt. They don't believe that this is the right thing to do. Right. And so they're subliminally holding back. Yeah. So you work through it. Here's the data points that we're seeing that lead us to believe that this is why we need to change the way the structure of this department is. Yeah. And what are we missing? Oh, no, I see that. That makes sense now. I get it. Okay, great. I get it. I missed that point. I didn't know that that's where we were really going. I thought we were only going here. It's communication too. Yeah. A lot of times we miss something in the way we communicate it to team members.
Right.
So having a good, authentic conversation with them about, all right, what's going on? Why are we not changing? Yeah. Where's the resistance? Talk to me.
Yeah. Well, I think it reminds me of like false summits. If you like hike a mountain, or you're hiking hills and you're like, it's just up to that top of there, and you get there, you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much further to go.
Right.
So much further to go. And then you're going to, inspire people for the next hump and for the next one and for the next one. And often for leaders, it's, especially business owners, it can be a little bit more inspiring for us than it can be for those who aren't owning the business.
I think it's a great lesson, right? Of not having that expectation of that break in the action. I mean, there's no finish line, right? There's no we've arrived.
Yes.
Until you're ready to either exit the business or retire or be done with your life's work.
Yes.
I mean, there's no finish line. You're constantly so the sooner you can get comfortable with the fact that there's really no break once you're climbing the mountain. I mean, you could get a little bit of a flatter stretch. Yeah,
exactly.
Or a little bit less steep of an incline.
Oh man. How do you, being somebody who's, because Dos Gringos is not your only business, is it?
It's not. No, I've got Pick on Us, which is those bamboo knots that you see in martinis and appetizers. And then sunflowerguy.com, which is an e-commerce portion of it. And then Nobleza own part of a tequila company called Nobleza Tequila.
Okay. Is good tequila?
Good tequila. Allegedly. I've never had it.
Sure.
No, it's good. It's really good.
That's great.
I like it.
That's good. Okay, so how do you stay engaged when things are tough? How do you stay kind of re-envisioned? Like, what do you do to kind of pump yourself up? Because obviously you're always on stage and you're the one who's leading and you're the one who's charging ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not easy. It's not. You're going to have bad days. You know, you just try to minimize that swing from the world is ending, to, all right, we're going to get through it. I think it's keeping your eye on the prize, right? Yeah. Realizing that you're trying to what you're doing is good, and people appreciate it. One of these flower arrangements that go down the line. I mean, we're gonna assemble, I don't know, 20,000 to 30,000 bouquets today. One of those is to help a sick grandmother to feel better, right? Mm. One of those is to welcome a new baby to the world, right? Yeah. One of those is is to get a guy out of the doghouse. You know, there's a reason, right, that we're doing it. And so the quicker you can realize that you're doing, you know, decent work, and the more those are
just reminding yourself that what you do matters, and reminding your team that what we do matters. Yeah. I'm assuming even tequila, you know, hey, it matters. Someone's going to enjoy this. Yeah. Yeah. Like someone's going to celebrate with this.
That's right.
Someone's going to,
as long as you use it responsibly.
Or as they say in Wisconsin, drink Wisconsinly.
Drink Wisconsinly. I like that.
Seriously, I mean, it's everywhere in Wisconsin. T-shirts, bumper stickers.
Drink Wisconsinly. I like that. That's clever.
Okay, if you were to write, if somebody said, hey, I think it's time for you to write a book, what would you write a book on?
I would write a book on entrepreneurship. I would write a book on, you know, bootstrapping, and I think, you know, that in the day of in the, you know, era of venture capital and private equity, and I think that to have had the opportunity to bootstrap a business from nothing and, you know, run to the mailbox on Saturday afternoon and 10-key your receivables to see if you're going to cover payroll that you handed out on Friday, you know, is a fascinating time, right?
I like how you say fascinating. I'm like,
and it, you know, and I think that's. I think I'd write a book on that. Yeah, I think that's something that is unique. Not you know, I'm certainly not the only person to bootstrap a business.
No, for sure, I get it. But
it's less common these days.
Yeah. Soundbite this. What would you be saying if you're sitting across the table from somebody who's like, or your son, he's like, I'd like to be like you, follow my dad's footsteps. I'd like to start a business. Like, what are you saying?
Is for a title or for
your counsel to them? Like, what can I work the mic drop?
What's the counsel? I mean, the counsel is get comfortable with uncertainty, get comfortable with change, get comfortable with hard work. Yeah. You know, get used to, you know, the joy, right? Yeah. The joy of achieving, and the things that come with that. Yeah. I would say envision wild success. You know, sit down and really close your eyes and envision what does wild success look like? Write it down. Yeah. I mean, the place where we are today, the plant that we operate out of was written on paper 10 years before I built it. This property was built on paper first as a dream 15 years before it happened. You know, so visualize it, write it down, make it clear. You know, see what it feels like, feel it, feel it, taste it, smell it, you know, and get there first and get real clear where you're going. And then, you know, just never lose sight of that in the good times and the bad times. Right. Totally. Yeah. You got to keep your eye on that.
In regards to that vision, are you there yet?
Never there.
Okay.
No, never.
So
there.
What's still out there on napkins that you've visualized at some point in time, but you've not yet seen?
You know, it's not monetary. It's you know, to I think live with ease, right? Yeah. Be happy, be healthy, and live with ease are the, you know, I think the things that I'm trying to get to. Yeah.
What so as however much you want to share, what's preventing that? The live with ease.
Well, one, I still run a business and run a couple companies.
So yeah, as I'm saying, like, so to live with ease, do you have to really be done with those?
I think it's a mindset. I think it's just something that I'm not spending enough time working on. I know lots of people who live with more ease than I do, being a leader of a company. Hey, I think you being one of them.
Yeah, yeah. I could, as I start talking, you're like, dude, I hate you. This is what you do. I think you do a podcast. This sounds fun. This is.
You're great at it. I love it.
Well, it is. I mean, that's kind of. I mean, it's true in many ways. I'm like, what do I want to do? Yeah. And I want to. I want to do this podcast because I think it's helpful to people. And in the same way you're saying with sunflowers, when somebody gets that bouquet, somebody's going to listen to this, and there's something that Jason said which frees them and releases them. There's something that you said which made him go, golly, I thought that was just stupid, writing a handwritten letter. And literally, when you said handwritten note, somebody thought, that's how I need to actually show so-and-so on my team that I care, because they know that it doesn't come naturally to me.
Yeah.
And I went out of my way to do it. Like, I mean, I really believe that. There are just little sound bites that are going to help people.
Yeah.
And
along
this is the
that
life I
line,
wanna
it's
live.
handwritten. It's not an email, right?
Yeah.
It's get some stationery as a leader and write notes. I just think it's a lost art, and it's important.
Yeah.
Right? It's important to tell people.
It meant,
the
I mean, literally, it meant a lot to me. I showed up here and you had a handwritten note for me. And flowers.
And flowers. There you go. I know a guy.
Flowers and a handwritten note. I mean, that was authentic.
Yeah.
You didn't go, oh, I'm going to be on a podcast. I better do a good deed so I can talk about it. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
No, if anything, it was to get out of doing the podcast. Yeah. I'm going to give him flowers so he'll let me out of it.
The flowers were not enough. Sorry. Yeah. I remember there was a time I was sitting at the airport. I was right at the gate, and I was thinking about getting on the plane and all the lines, and I was like, man, I would hate to be in the airline industry now. It was kind of about a year or so back. And I'm like, they've just gone through so much crap and all of the changes, and had to kind of comply with all of these new rules. And they don't, probably half of them don't agree with the rules either. It doesn't make logical sense.
Right.
You know, like, take your mask off here to eat, you can put it back. You're like, oh, well, how does this all work? And they've got to enforce something and get a whole bunch of flack for it. And I was thinking, God, that sucks. I was like, how could I show them appreciation? So I went into one of those little like stores, and I grabbed a little box of truffles or whatever. Nice. And I was like, hey, here you go. And I gave them, and I was just doing it to,
I love it.
Be nice. And then they go, what seat are you in? You know, and I'm like, I'm in this seat. And then suddenly they come by. I'm like, hey, what do you want? We can get you anything you want. And I was like,
that's great.
Like, I could do this every time, you know. Like, but then suddenly it's kind of like this whole like, I want to be. It was genuine. It was heartfelt. It was authentic. And I'm like, well, that felt kind of good. I could do that again. You know, the act of giving.
It.
And I'm
love
like,
it.
It's not forced. It's still authentic. You know, be giving gifts. But it feels good. It feels good to give to people.
What a concept.
Being kind to other people feels good. And I'm like, sometimes I just want to say that to people. I'm like, you don't have to be such a jerk. Like, it actually feels good to be kind to people. So why don't you just smile? You know, why don't you be kind? Why don't you know?
And it's, that's a great reminder to all of us, right? If you look for the good and look, you're going to find the good. Yeah. Look for the bad, you're going to find the bad. But if you really look for the good, the things that people are doing well, and it doesn't have to be within your business, just like you did with the flight attendants. Yeah. You're going to find it. There's a lot of good going on out there.
Yes, totally. You said yesterday, you were talking about somebody who's not as maybe not as authentic, or maybe is, I don't know, just doesn't come naturally to. You talked about the coins in the pocket. Do you remember?
Yeah. So
like, just
a tool, man. A leadership tool is to put 5, nickels or quarters in your left pocket or right pocket, and then every time you look for something good, and by the end of the day, those 5, you move a quarter from your right pocket to your left pocket every time you notice something good. And by the end of the day, you should have everything in your left pocket. All the coins should be moved to the other side.
And I think you'd said as well, like, noticing something good and telling somebody they did good.
Yeah,
they did good.
I think that's another part of feedback. Is it has to be. It's not just good job or I appreciate it. It's I noticed you came in early this morning to get that project done, so you weren't late. And I know that took an extra effort. And I just want you to know that I recognize it and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I noticed you worked through lunch today. I thanks.
I'd like you to do that every day.
I appreciate it. Now, if I can get you to do you and the rest of the team to do that every day, I'd really appreciate it.
I just want to get more of my money's worth from having you around here. That's right. If you could do that.
That's right.
That's authentic. At least you're honest about it.
At least I'm honest. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I can joke because you are so not that way, but I love that the specificity.
Tie it to something, right? And we try to do it. We try to do it tied to one of our 5 core values, right? So when we have the Gringo Gold Award or the Gringo Star Award, those are 2 things. They're always it's peer nominated. It's always tied to a core value. Yeah. That someone.
That's good.
That someone went, they got a little bit better at their role. Yeah. Right. Every day. they delivered on their commitment in a huge way, and it took an extra amount of effort.
Yeah,
Right.
that's great. I like that because it just enhances and massages in the fact that I want you doing more of that, like living those values, those core values. Okay, so there's a kind of the below the surface, this whole kind of the public Jason and the great leader that you are, and all of your teams from the different companies deeply appreciate you because they feel loved and valued by you. Like
this isn't the part where you make me cry, is it?
No. But
or you try?
But no, I wasn't. Yeah, well, yeah, I might actually. No, I'll usually be the one crying. I'll be like, "Oh, it means so much to me." But yeah, like what's driving below the surface? That's from a motivation. Like, what motivates you on a deep level?
I'm still trying to please my parents. I'm still trying to make them
proud. Is that a tear? I think I see a tear. I see a tear.
I think there's a sense of pride.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a big piece of it, and I think that's actually one of our core values at Dos Gringos is pride, of being proud of what you're doing. I think because if you're proud of what you're doing, the work that you're doing, you're going to do well at it.
Yeah.
You're going to do good work, and so I think that there's a sense of pride in anything worth doing is worth doing right, is what I tell my kids, right? And so if I'm going to do it, I need to get after it and put everything I got into it.
Yeah.
And so that's
where did that come from?
Drivers. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it was learned. I don't know. I mean, probably from watching, observing, other successful people, observing my parents, observing my grandparents.
Do they hold to a high standard like that of pride in what you do?
They definitely, absolutely. There's no question I would not be sitting here today without having great parents. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Everything that they did that guided and shaped my life, for sure. 100%.
And
a great brother as well. I mean, I've got a great, I mean, I got lucky. I mean, I was born in the U.S. and with two great parents and great grandparents. So, I mean, I have to be a complete idiot not to have done something with my life.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So when the level of pride and doing your best, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right, as you say. When things don't go well, how do you handle that sense of I failed? Because there are things that go wrong. Yeah. And you're like, well,
it's only a failure if you don't learn anything from it. I mean, you're really sitting down and learning everything you possibly can from it. If you don't learn anything from the failure, then it's a failure.
Yeah.
But if you learn something from it, that's a win.
Yeah.
That's a win.
All right.
That's
something you learn from failure.
Which failure? There's so many. They're all unique, right?
Yeah.
It could be a quality issue, disappointing a client.
Yeah.
Right? With a quality issue. So we learned that, there was too much humidity in the box. There was too much, you learn from those mistakes. You let down a client. What did we do wrong? What happened? Where's the miss in the process?
Yeah.
How do we fix it?
And what's a great story that I feel proud of putting something right that didn't go well, or a failure, as you say?
Oh gosh, I mean, there's so many different examples of
one that you're going to put in the book that you're going to write.
There was a time, there was a time in the early days of the business where we screwed up an order in the Bay Area, and they were short. They needed like purple iris or something at the time, and they couldn't find it anywhere, and we forgot to ship it. So I drove overnight the 5 bunches of iris to give it to them, right? Again, mistake, learn from it. Yeah. Certainly didn't make that mistake again. That was painful.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Those types of things. And then, just getting on an airplane, going to see them, looking at it, fixing it.
Yeah.
Making it right. Right.
Yeah.
You're human. Again, people are going to make mistakes. The mistake is not making it right for your client. That's the mistake.
Yeah.
Or not making it right for your friends or your families that you screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the mistake. Good. And learning from it and owning it.
Yeah. So when it comes to employees, how that translates, like that radical, doing whatever it takes to make things right. How do you train people to do that? Because I mean, a lot of people would much rather bury their head in the sand and pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And you're like, what happened? You
Yeah,
know?
it starts with the culture, right? It starts
Yeah.
with I mean, in fact, this is a good reminder. We should get this back again. We used to do it every year. We had an award, and we went on eBay and bought like a used trophy, the most obnoxious used trophy. And then we would put a Post-it note over the plaque, and it was the failure that we learned the most from. And we would award it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
We would award it, right? So people felt comfortable with failure.
That's fantastic.
And so it was actually celebrated. So it was like, it wasn't a big scarlet letter on their chest. It was oh boy, we got a candidate over here. Yeah. We got a candidate. You really screwed that one up.
Well, I love it. And even when it's really bad, you can laugh because you're like,
you got a
he's
candidate.
going to be nominated.
He's top 5 now.
He's top five.
Who's trending? You're trending.
I love it.
I got to get that back going again. That was so fun.
I'll race you to it.
I don't know why we stopped.
Race you to it. The thing is, I'd be like so excited to do this thing at the end of the year, and I'd be nominated for all of them. It would just be me.
Yeah.
Like,
We used to have a deal where when everybody was in the office, this started around the holiday time when someone made a mistake before we did the trophy, and we were like, "Oh, that hurts. That's gonna hurt. What could we do to Kevin? What should we do to Kevin?" This was back when 20 years ago. What should we do to Kevin? Let's make him dance the Sugar Plum Fairy from the end of the sales hall to the end back. So that was the punishment in the old days, and we all laughed and we all had fun.
before HR, before everyone would cancel you for everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Before you could buy insurance for it. Before they had insurance for it.
Somebody's suing you for trauma.
No, it's so funny. In those days too, it was pure joy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just everybody was laughing and having fun. Even the person doing it, I did it. I had to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure somebody's got some videos of that stuff.
I'm sure somewhere.
I love it. When you look forward to the future, what are you looking forward to, business-wise?
I think of 100 people that go through a grocery store door, 5 stop in the department and 1 buys. Yeah. So there's 99 potential customers out there that aren't buying in the grocery store. So nobody else has to lose for us to win. So I look forward to the day when 2 people buy, 3 people buy, and more people understand the benefits of fresh flowers for everyday life.
Yeah.
And the health and well-being, just people, I think fresh flowers are just as legally addictive as caffeine and nicotine, right? If you're used to having them in the home, every week, you're going to pick up a bunch of 5-stem bunch of sunflowers for $4.99 or $5.99.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be the banana, the bundle of bananas. You're also gonna do that because it makes a difference.
Yeah.
And the more people that get that and understand that, and the more we can get that message out, the more fulfilled we'll certainly have felt as a company.
Oh, I love it. I'm inspired. I'm like, why don't I get fresh flowers in my house just for the family, because it's always like, hey babe, I'll get you flowers. You see them, it's kind of this big kind of like thing.
Jewel Foods, go to Jewel. Those are our sunflowers.
That's right.
Jewel Foods or
Jewel Osco.
Yeah, Jewel Osco.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's us.
And then what are you looking forward to you're not doing yet, but you want to get better, like as a company? It's like, hey, I'm excited about this idea we have going forward to the future. Like,
yeah, it's
if you could share it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's an important question, right? I think we have to do a better job of sharing the message of the health benefits and the well-being benefits of flowers. It's not just about, decorating a home, right? It's also about brightening a mood.
Yeah.
It's also about the feeling that you get. You were talking about it with the box of truffles, the feeling that you get from giving somebody flowers.
Oh yeah.
Right? There's a whole there's emotion behind it, and it's not just product, right? There's so much more to it.
Yeah.
And so, figuring out a way to do that so that more people can enjoy them would be very fulfilling.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Oh, I feel inspired, and if I'm inspired and challenged by it, like in a good, stirring way, I think some of the listeners will feel the same. And how do they reach out to, like, where do they find you? And like someone's like, I like that guy, I want to connect with him.
That's it's very simple. Jason at dosgringos.net.
Yeah, easy peasy.
Jason at dosgringos.net is and then dosgringos.com is our website. That's our B2B website.
And you literally, somebody can go, I'm going to buy flowers for all my employees, and they can go straight to that website.
They would go to sunflowerguy.com.
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 All right, that's what we're going to do. That's what I'm going to do. I'm doing it.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Not necessary.
You're like, yes, it's the best day ever.
I'll give you the discount code.
It's awesome. Hey, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Cheers.